Thanks for joining us. We have a pretty packed agenda with a lot of things to talk about. So a reminder, if you've just joined us, make sure you sign in through the link on the website. And the first thing on the agenda, sorry, I'm moving my screens around, is our issue tracker. So if you want to put that up and kick it over to Tracy. Is Tracy on? Yep, there's.
Here. Good morning, guys. Okay. So I got a lot of updates internally yesterday, and I think I have the right folks on the call to help with any additional questions you have. As far as the Adams County, the DS3 lines, at last update I received on my side is we're just waiting for confirmation from the PSAP that these numbers have been ported. Is there anybody on the call that can confirm that? I think that was the last step to close this. Might need to follow up separately, but we just haven't heard back if that's been completed. Second one, line 4 was brought to our attention. This is the Elizabeth fire. Andrew is helping us with this one. It sounds like we do want to get a field tech on site to look at it, so kind of determine some troubleshooting that can be done. So as of late last night, this is, excuse me, this is still an open issue. For El Paso Teller, I can't tell if Matt is on or not. I'm trying to find out if you're still getting what you need from Intrado, or do I need to help escalate this one specific for what you're looking for? I know I'm on some of the emails, but not on the voice conversations.
I don't see Matt on the call, so maybe you could reach out specifically to him after the meeting and ask him.
Okay. I know for the next one, I saw an email this morning and a couple this past week between Andrew and Westco. I think it's still having some troubleshooting done on it. Andrew, if you have anything new, I did see your note last night though.
Okay. Not really. Just kind of escalating to the to our 911 knock to get some attention on it.
Okay. Next one, we're a couple specific locations.
Sorry, Tracy. Alex had his hand up.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say we were just waiting to hear back on that one. Lumen did resolve a separate issue that was previously on the tracker, and we were coordinating just till that got resolved, which is what the emails were about. But this one that's still on the tracker, we haven't gotten an update since September from the team that was working on it. I'm not sure if you guys have had internal communications or emails going back and forth, but Westco has not heard anything since the end of September on that issue.
Yeah, Alex, and I figured this might come up in our other call today, but David, the one who was working this ticket, is no longer with Lumen. So I engaged the supervisors over there. Somebody else has already picked it up, and I gave them all the information from it to try and get them up to speed to get some traction back on it. But that was very recent, excuse me, that happened. I'm pushing it with a new person, but just wanted to let you know what happened with that.
Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate that update.
Okay.
We'll look to hear from that new entity working on it. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thanks, guys. The next one here, this originally was Garfield County and Kit Carson. I have had some email exchanges with Kit Carson, and right now we are working, well, I'm waiting for GTT to let us know what date they want to go out on location and get their circuit installed. We are still working on Garfield County to see what other options we might have, because this was one that had both Lumen circuits assigned to it. When we originally put it out for bid, no one else bid. and that's why it rolled out Lumen. But we're looking into seeing what other options might be available now, because it's been a couple years since the original bid went out. And Carl, I think that was yours. I did make the request. I don't know 100% what the bidding process is. That's kind of outside of my viewpoint, but I did keep it on the tracker, and Jeff and I are still working on getting updates on that.
Yeah, and even with Lumen, it wasn't redundant because they basically plugged the circuits into the same fiber.
Right.
And we are getting new internet through here, so there a same from Lumen, switching from one Lumen to Lumen, and they're actually, I think, rebuilding the system. So even if it's Lumen, maybe you could hop on that. So we have at least something different than just one. You know, two going into one fiber, calling it diverse is kind of BS.
I'll write down a note to follow up as well. Okay, thank you for that. Down below are just some of our projects. Everybody knows that the upgraded circuits, it's an ongoing project. It kind of took over the communication for this one in October, and what I've been doing is sharing everything we have. You know, sometimes there's a lot of information, sometimes there's just a date that the vendor's coming out on the 12th at 2 o'clock. So making sure that whomever is going to have an on-site next week, I'm sending that out the Thursday before, just to make sure they have the right person. Many of you have responded back, some with questions and some with, yes, that's great. So I appreciate those PSAPs that do respond to the emails, because it's made it go a lot smoother. We're definitely getting more circuits installed, and I have a handful of locations where we're just making sure that we're ready to activate. We have lots of sites that both circuits are in place. So I think there's been a lot of progress over the last 4 to 6 weeks on this one. It's a big one. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, Tracy, I do. Just speaking from our local experiences that we've been working with you on, there's been coordination, you know, maybe challenges might be a strong word, but can you explain to the group that I've learned a little bit about what your ability to, the information you can and can't obtain through the subs and vendors. Can you talk a little bit about that, so that when another group or another entity comes up or PSAP comes up, that they might be aware of what you will and will not know?
Sure. I kind of know nothing. I rely a lot on our vendor escalations team. I do have a partner on that team that's been working with me. We meet every Monday and Wednesday for like an hour and a half in the morning, just to kind of compare notes. And she has the ability to look into different systems at Lumen that I don't see. I've also asked to be copied on the communication from the vendors. So for this project, and some of you haven't started it yet, and some of you are further along than others, but there are going to be several site visits. And I think there was a misunderstanding that, you know, it would be one and done. There, with the 2 circuits, there'll be a site survey. Sometimes that is in person and sometimes it's virtual. It really varies from location to location. So that could be, that is dates and information that I have access to. Then you will have Lumen come and install our circuit, and you will have the vendor. We use GTT, but they contract that out as well. So you'll get notified when the second circuit is coming out. I've learned a lot as well, Steve, because sometimes in the notes, you know, I would get a note that says, please confirm that the NID install is okay with the PSAP on this date. Basically, I've learned that is another piece of network equipment. No specifics as to what it is, because it could vary from PSAP to PSAP, but it is another piece of equipment that is not always brought out with the circuit, and in some cases has to require another in-person visit to the site. There's also been a couple instances that they are sending me that they need to do a RAD install, and I have also learned that that means something to do with the router. So there could be 4 different times when they come out. One thing that I've struggled with, and Steve, I don't know a better way to do it, is because I tried to get specific names for you. A lot of times in our notes, it just says the Comcast PM. And by the time I can reach out and find out if there is a name associated with that, they're already on site. So the specific name of the person coming is really hard. I understand part of it, like you guys know for Lumen, I'm your program manager, right? And that doesn't change. But when it comes to the techs that are on site, you know, they said those could change the day of. If Bobby is supposed to come and he gets sick, they're going to send somebody else. So that's why they kind of use the overall, they just say generic Comcast PM. But it should be Comcast, right? If it's someone from Spectrum, it should be Spectrum. That shouldn't change. But it is difficult to get the name. And really that's the bulk of the information. But I do encourage you guys, if you have questions, like additional details that you're looking for, ask the questions, because I'm more than happy to, and so is Tamika, to go back to our vendor team and say, you know, we need to know exactly what they're doing, why they're doing this, you know, what's the steps. We can ask additional questions, but what I'm able to just look up and see, like right now, I could tell you if someone's coming on site next week. It just doesn't have the details to what they're doing.
Yeah, thanks, Tracy. I would say from our experience, we've had subs and subs of subs that are coming out to do different pieces of the work, or at least the investigative process. I would suggest that if this happens to anyone during the process, make sure you get the ticket number or the work order number. If you can take a picture of it, if it's a piece of paper, get the names of the people that are showing up, and just create your own logs and documents. Because what I was finding is, while Tracy's trying to do her best for us, she doesn't always have this because they're subs of the subs to do different pieces of the work. So just have your due diligence and gather that information and store it. Kimberly, what you got?
Just a couple of things, and I understand about the multiple visits, but I'm wondering if why there isn't an ability to know exactly what is needed at the site for the site survey, or to take advantage and coordinate that better before people are even going out there to come out, and then to come out again and say we need to evaluate a router, or we have subs of subs coming out. It's just a lot, and going through this with multiple PSAPs, it's a lot. So to me, I'm just thinking what can everybody do on the front end to make it more seamless when subs need to come out there and do these physical site surveys. And I don't have any direct answers for you, Tracy, but it seems like there's a lot of steps on the front when there should be already answers being provided to you by GTT, who has identified the carrier and has identified the needs to make it diverse. So I guess I get confused on how they don't know exactly what's needed, or a site survey with one sub and CenturyLink can't answer those needs. My next piece of it is we had a side call to specifically talk through Estes Park, and there were some action items from CenturyLink, and I haven't received any of those action items back. Do you have an idea of when we will get that additional information about that deployment at Estes Park?
Yeah, and yes, I do actually. I scheduled a call. I know that there were two folks on that call, Kimberly, that were taking some action items to get back with you. I know we were following up on diversity of the fiber, and I think the exact location of the tower. And I have a call with those folks right after this one to find out what they know and how we can, you know, they might already have the answers. They just, they didn't get them to me, but I do have a call right after this, and I'm going to then reach out to you and schedule a follow-up with everybody that was on that call.
Okay, thank you.
And as for the coordination, I mean, I understand. I mean, we go down a rat hole trying to look at the locations. Like if somebody's getting an on-site visit on the 18th, her and I trying to figure out exactly what they're doing. It's just, I think the difficulty is different contractors do things differently, and also different locations are different. You know, there might be a ton of work that's needed at one PSAP where you just walk up to another one and it's drop the circuit and we're ready to go. So it's really difficult to coordinate with those vendors. We're going to continue to push them for better answers and better updates. And like I said earlier, if you have specific questions, please just shoot them and put them in an email and give them to me, because I mean, it can't hurt to ask. And we are able to send those questions. It's difficult to know what every site is going to require up front. Anything else on this one? Okay. Middle mile projects, we're leaving that on here because it's very important, but this is the one that Tim Kunkelman and Tressa report on quarterly. That's what's required in the tariff. So you'll be getting, whomever sees that update. I guess I don't know the distribution list, but the next one will be provided the end of December. And then kind of the same for the FCC phase 1, phase 2. I know Paul Brown has been in communication, I believe, with Daryl and maybe a few others. This is really coming from him as well as our regulatory folks. So as we get closer to dates and times and commitments, you know, those 3 items will be updated. I don't have anything new for this month. I did get confirmation from the state of Colorado, Weld County, I think Phillips and Sedgwick. They were able to make successful test calls as far as state line transfers between Colorado and Nebraska, and vice versa, Nebraska to Colorado. So I did move that to the closed project. Those are all working as we had hoped they would. New Mexico, as well as every other state within the United States, I think I shared with you, this is a bigger project within Lumen. We do have a program manager on our team that is leading this, and she's just having continued conversations with Entrado, with Motorola, with AT&T. There's a lot of paperwork, as you can imagine, contracts and amendments and red lines that have to be agreed upon. So until that's done, I don't have a lot of information as far as when New Mexico or even like Utah and other states will go. I'm hoping that once everything is signed, sealed, and delivered, we can move forward on them. Wyoming is the one that's going to be a little bit different. It's going to require some builds and connections as well as the agreements. So it's going to take a little bit longer on that one, I think. I don't have an official project for Wyoming. And then star code cleanup. This one, I'm just waiting to hear back from Jennifer. I know Andrew had a couple questions on this one too. So once we have the list of what you want us to clean up, remove, or change, we'll send that over to Entrado, and it's a pretty quick fix.
So I have a little bit more information to add to that, and thank you, Tracy. I'm waiting on 2 PSAPs to get back to me as to which star code they want to keep. My plan is to provide that list back to all of the PSAPs so that they can update their records. And once we've given enough time to make sure that those records are updated and speed dials are updated and all of that, then we'll go ahead and ask Lumen to work with Entrado to get rid of the older star codes. I just don't want to create a situation where a PSAP has an old star code list and they're trying to transfer a 911 call to a star code that's no longer in existence. So if you have any questions about that, let me know. I'm going to try and work with those 2 PSAPs this week to get those answers and get that list back out to everybody within the next week or so.
Perfect, thank you.
And Jeff's got his hand up.
Hey, Tracy, this is Jeff Tucker with Motorola. Hey, if there's anything I can do on the New Mexico call transfers contract negotiations, kind of reach out to me. We just finalized the I3 network down there. I think we're pretty much 90% live on I3, and I can't imagine that it's much different than the Utah contract, but maybe it is. But we should also look at the Navajo Nation in terms of call transfers to them as well. They're in the process of deploying our I3 network as well. So happy to try to help you with all of those.
Yeah, I can see where we're at. So these aren't going to be state to state contracts. These are actually a higher level. And it would be like an agreement with Motorola to go nationwide and Entrado to go nationwide. We're trying to avoid doing individual contracts per state. So we just would have one kind of overarching one. Nebraska and Colorado was fairly simple because it's Lumen and it's Entrado, so, and it's ESInet. So it worked out well. But when we started doing that, when we found out all the other states are interested in it too, and it's not just Colorado, it's places in Illinois and Missouri and everywhere. So we're trying to do this at a corporate level so that we don't have to do contracts for every single one. But Jeff, let me see. I know they're working with a couple folks at Motorola. I just can't think of their names off the top of my head. And I join those calls sometimes just to sort of listen. But we do have a PMO program manager assigned to it, and she's very much in the weeds with everything. So I'll try to get an update and send it out with my next ESInet meeting. My update
Okay.
tomorrow, and
Excellent.
share those with you. I don't think
Thanks,
there's anything
Tracy.
Motorola's holding up.
Okay, thanks, Tracy.
Thank you. The CGIS requirements, we do have a list. I think it was Kathy that maybe sent it to Jeff and I, but it's a bit dated and it doesn't include all of the PSAPs. So I don't know if we just didn't get responses from some of them or if things have changed, but Jeff, you can chime in if you'd like to. I think you were trying to work on some type of survey that we could send out to everybody to see what their requirements were for as far as CGIS requirements, or they need to just have an escort, or kind of what the different situations are per location.
Right, I did send that out, I believe it was the beginning of this week, over to Steve and Jennifer to have it distributed.
Okay. Did you guys receive that?
I was going to say the general consensus on it is just to get it from a sense of access requirements, not specifically towards CGIS though.
Yes.
And this is Jennifer. For those of us who remembered that we did this way back in April, we did send this survey out and got a few responses, not all of them by all means. But the fault of it not getting back to Lumen was on me. I forgot that the survey results were coming into my folder, and I did not provide those back to Jeff Winkleman. So that was on me. I apologize for that, but this new survey that Steve's going to send out is, like Jeff and Tracy said, a little more comprehensive. So, and it's going directly to Jeff, your responses. So I apologize for that mistake.
Thanks, Jennifer.
No worries. We just want to make sure that we are doing what's required at each location. We don't want to hold somebody up if we need to be doing something differently to get on site.
Yeah, we had a little bit of email back and forth yesterday and the day before, but that will go out to the group. I don't think there's any changes needed, so that'll go out to the group today.
Thank you. Last one here is just the statewide ECATS rollout. This is still, we're plugging away. So again, my ask as it is every month, there's maybe 10 or 11 PSAPs that still do not have ECATS and are not taking advantage of that reporting. I will send another reminder, as I do every month, to the locations that we haven't rolled it out yet for various reasons. Both Entrado and Lumen are ready to help you do this. I know we're working with Sterling specifically because you guys are getting some new equipment and, you know, like a face over the first part of December. So we're going to try to get the ECATS rolled into that or shortly after. It's really simple. I mean, we just need to schedule it with Entrado. We can usually get the information as far as IP information we need over the phone in less than 10 minutes. So anybody who's not utilizing that but would like to, let me know and we can get you going pretty quickly. And again, for Sterling, it should be before the end of the year, which is great. And I think that's all we have. I didn't know, and Jeff didn't know either on these. I know you guys asked us last month or the month before to kind of add the MEC and Carbine migrations onto here. I have. I don't know how much detail we want to discuss. I mean, this is for the users group, and MEC and Carbine are kind of PSAP specific. So I wasn't sure if we were just tracking them for a point of reference or if it was going to be something that you want to discuss.
Well, this is Andrew. There were two items that were universal. The first was the process by which we were trying to get the project management fees sorted and all of that, and kind of the lengthy time it was taking to get those agreements in place. And then the second was the eventual migration to cloud architecture that would negate the need for this unique routing architecture through back out of and then back into the ESInet. So those two things I think are worth tracking because they do affect everybody kind of regardless of whether or not they're moving to Carbine. It's just if anybody is are contemplating a move to a cloud-based phone solution, these are things that they're going to need to be aware of. And because there's still some movement and changes happening, I would submit that having them tracked would be valuable.
So I can add a line item back on here that's kind of just the project management fees or changes for cloud-based phone systems. I do have on the third tab of this sheet, the ones I'm aware of that are going to this location. I've completed one of them. So I get involved once, like you said, once all of the project management fees and, paperwork and SOWs are done, then it's like, okay, Tracy, go work with Carbine and fix it. So I know we've completed JeffCom, and I actually have hopefully the final call to finish Grand Junction tomorrow. So I don't know if you want to show that third tab on the screen or not, but I get notified that these are coming. I don't really have a lot unless I'm working on them, right? Like Grand Junction, I know we should finish tomorrow. And Andrew, for you, I know you reached out to me and are trying to get this going for you guys. So I have a little bit of update on that one. But a lot of them, I don't know what type of information you want on here.
Well, yeah. So in my mind, these are less like project management things and more general updates that we would like from Lumen. So yeah, I recognize, Tracy, that both of these questions are not necessarily yours to answer, but because they are kind of ongoing issues, I see value in tracking them. If tracking them on this specific spreadsheet doesn't make sense, then we can find a better way to do that. But
okay. I mean, to be honest, this is easier for me because I have all your stuff in one spot. And if we wanted to talk about it during this call, we can. And if we don't, you guys would have the information and you could reach out to me individually with questions. Okay.
I saw Kimberly had her hand up at one point.
Yeah, I did. I just wanted to say I agree with what Andrew is saying, and those universal items as it pertains to the CPE upgrades and how they impact the ESInet and additional costs. I think it's really beneficial for this call to get those updates. So I would just support keeping that on there for those discussions.
Okay. Any other questions for me? And like I said, I'm 100% fine leaving them on this spreadsheet. Gives me one document to update, but if you guys want something different, you can let me know.
Jackie?
I know I'd mentioned this last time, but there are individual projects going on that also aren't going quickly, or there's lack of communication. And I didn't know if this was a group that we can also keep track of those, just to help
Do you have
kind of coordinate. Specifically, I have Rocky Ford and La Junta who've been waiting on a new system for almost a year now.
So if you want to click on that tab that says MEC, it's the second tab. I think this might be what you're looking for.
Okay.
So Crowley is up at the top. We have the circuits in place, and you guys we need to get the circuits in place and activated, and then we can do the MEC migration. I've got Washington, Yuma, Lincoln County, La Junta, and Rocky Ford as well. Again, not a ton of data on this one, just because it's a little bit outside of my day-to-day, but I certainly can get updates and put them on here if this is what you were talking about.
Yes, specifically, that's what I'm talking about. Okay. Thank you. And I just think there's value in letting the group know where you are on specific projects, since as an ESInet, we kind of need to know who is upgrading their CPEs to be ready. Thanks.
And I can tell you for Crawley, we have a project manager, Melissa, is assigned to this, and she is pounding the pavement every day trying to get updates and timing and dates and everything for you. I know she tried to activate them once and it wasn't successful. So she's pushing that on your behalf.
Tracy, I'll add that Melissa also has the Otero counties, La Junta and Rocky Ford.
Okay.
And I think she also has Orfano.
I think
Thank
she
you,
does too.
Jeff.
And a lot of these too, I can put the updates in here. I just kind of got access to it today, but some of them, like Crawley, I think we're ready. That's what she told me. We just need to confirm a couple changes within the circuit. Some of them though are pending permits that need to be given to us or builds that need to be done. So I'm happy to put that information in here. Like on the bottom one, it does say that there'll be a new building and that permits are going to be needed. So I won't have like an ETA date for you until that's completed.
That's great. Yeah, I have just sent a couple emails about La Junta and Rocky Ford and hadn't heard anything.
Okay, I'll update this for you then each month.
Thank you.
Anything else?
For Tracy?
Yeah.
Anything else for Tracy? All right, thanks, Tracy. Appreciate it.
This is me too, but it's good this month because I didn't see anything out of the ordinary. Let me just pull out my little knock notes so I don't do them wrong or say something that's not accurate. But again, these were within what we expect them to be each month. This first one basically is just continuing to ping the server to make sure that it's active. It's the network performance and it's just a constant ping. We don't typically see these numbers drop below the tariff requirements. So nothing exciting there. Next one, we do look at voice quality, and anything that hits that 4 or above mark is what we like to see. And this is for the month of October. So everything again within the region it needs to be. The same number or metric applies to the next one when we're looking at the ECMC route. We always want to see those not dip below 4, and none of them have. The next few get a little confusing. Packet loss percentage by ECMC. This is the one where it is less or equal to the 0.05. We have a few bounces up in there, but when it was, if Denver went up, Miami didn't. So what we would be looking for is if both of them fall below that mark. That's what I can submit to my NOC to kind of look into and see. And the jitter one is even different because we can't measure it exactly like the tariff reads. We measure this in microseconds versus milliseconds. So we're looking for less than or equal to 20 milliseconds. And there was not anything that popped up as something that needed attention from my NOC for October. I think that was the last one.
All right, any questions for Tracy on the performance? Hearing none. I think that brings us to number 4, follow-up on TSP information, Denver admin line outage. Is Andrew on the call?
Yes, he's
Andrew Dameron's here, and the only update I can provide is Andrew Freevert has been trying to get us the RCA, but we still have not seen that.
Sorry, I'm here. I was on mute. I did send that last night. Apologies, Andrew. I didn't. I had kind of like the follow-up. Oh, let me just double check who I sent it to. Yeah, you should have seen that from me at like 11:15 last night is when I got it at about 11, and so I forwarded it to you guys. To Jacob and Andrew.
Yep, and I see it in my inbox.
The the people that work those actually are late shift people. They come in pretty late in the evening. So, you know, we were pushing them to get this, so I was expecting it last night. That's kind of why I was up waiting for it and ready to send it.
So just looking through it real quick, Andrew, the cause, of course, was a card failure, which we knew, but there's nothing in here that indicates if this was an old card that failed. You know, I know we've had conversations as a group that in many instances, Lumen's kind of MO is they just plan for certain hardware failures in central offices. Does this kind of fall into that category, or was this an anomaly? Do you know?
Well, I mean, they they keep a certain percentage, you know, of a certain type of card, at least, you know, regionally. So, you know, if we're talking downtown Denver, between like, you know, Cap Hill, Denver, Maine, Curtis Park, Denver East, you know, sometimes that card exists, you know, locally on a shelf. And, you know, sometimes it's just, hey, you know, we got to drive 20 minutes, go grab it, come back. Sometimes, you know, it's more of, hey, we need to order this from our warehouse. And then sometimes, you know, for the more rare cards, it's, you know, we have to order this and have it, you know, overnighted as soon as possible. Um, and so I think this card fell into that category.
Into that last category, this is a rare card that had to be
Ye-
ordered from the manufacturer.
Yeah, yeah. And or, you know, sourced from whatever the closest, you know, did we have it in another state and you know, we overnighted it ourselves. I didn't, that level of detail wasn't on there, but we did not have it locally, so we had to you know, procure it and you know, that was that last chunk of time um according to the technician and the ticket that it kind of sat on that overnight piece from the 8th to the 9th. After they discovered, you know, I think it also mentioned a bad test point, and I think that that hampered the isolation on the first day somewhat.
Anything additional?
This is Jennifer.
Go for it.
Just for those who are looking for a one-stop shop for TSP information, if you go to the Colorado 911 program website and go to regulation of BES, after the last meeting, Andrew and Jeff provided some good information, which is in this link here. So if you click on FCC TSP, there's all kinds of resources in here about the TSP program, and Lumen provided their rates as well. So those resources are there for anybody who needs them.
Thank you, Jennifer. All right, anything additional on item number 4? All right, number 5, working group on technical requirements for cloud-based call handling systems. Andrew Dameron.
So I had a conversation with Steve Deloach about this, and basically what he told me, and I don't know if he's on the call, but what he told me was that before we can do anything, Lumen has to come up with their national standard for how they're going to integrate cloud-based 911 systems. That is not something that they have. According to Steve, we are the first ESInet customer in the country to ask for this. So they have to develop the quote unquote Lumen standard. And he is estimating a first draft of that standard to be completed by their team in Q1 or Q2 of next year. So there's really nothing we can do until Lumen gets that work done. He did commit to sharing that draft with us so that we could provide feedback, such as there is any. But that's kind of where we're at. So we're in a holding pattern until that internal work at Lumen is complete.
Okay, Andrew, do you want to take it off the agenda and put it back on when we get more information? Does that seem reasonable?
Yeah.
Okay, Jennifer?
So does that mean that all of the carbine integrations are on hold until that standard is developed, or are those integrations still moving forward?
No, those are still moving forward. The thing that, so for the carbine integrations, we have to program the phone system. The call gets delivered to the CPE. It then has to be routed out of the ESInet to go get anti-alley information, and then has to be routed back through the ESInet back to the CPE. That is the routing work that has been the subject of all of the project management mishigas over the last 11 months with us and Grand Junction and everything. So to do away with what everybody agrees, Lumen, Carbine, and the PSAPs involved, that is not best practice. So in order to establish best practice, there needs to be an I3 compliant interaction between a cloud-based call handling solution and Colorado's ESInet. It's just Lumen doesn't know how they want to do that yet.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks for the update, Andrew. Any questions for him? And we'll put this back on when we get more information.
The only other thing I will add, if anybody from Grand Junction is on the call, all I can say is I'm sorry. So I got Jim Carlson engaged and a few other kind of executives at Lumen engaged on the project management process, because the unique challenge that we had in Denver is that Lumen was asking us to sign a separate MSA and agreement for that work. And our city attorney was saying, no, we already have an existing MSA. Why can't this be a part of that? Lumen's attorneys were taking a very long time to come back with a decision. Jim Carlson was able to basically identify a method by which we could use the existing tariff ESInet agreement and just have this be billed hours on top of ESInet service. So he said that is with their lawyers once again. Jeff Winkleman, I don't know if you have an update on that, but it essentially will eliminate the need for a separate agreement and contract for the project management work, and it's simply just paying for the hours required through the existing tariff mechanism.
This is Jeff Winkleman. I can say that, excuse me, our offer management has gotten that over to our legal to review the, using, like you said, using the existing tariff and the language that's within that. So I don't have anything back as of today. I'm hoping to be able to get something soon, though.
All right. Well, thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Jeff. As soon as information comes back, we'll get this back on for everybody to be aware of. Moving on, we're on to number 6, Lumen Intrado cybersecurity and other features questions. So Kathy sent me a handful of questions, 3 questions specifically, after the last meeting, and wanted to add it to this meeting to hear the answers. So there were 3 questions that she sent. I'm going to start with the third one because there's a definitive answer. With Intrado's text translation features, how many languages does Intrado translate at this time? The answer is 54. And then another question that she asked, which we're going to kick over to Rich Johnson to answer, is what type of cybersecurity does Lumen have on the ESInet?
Sure. And I can talk towards that. So we have IDS and ITS, so intrusion detection. systems on our side. We follow the NINA standard BCF requirements when it comes to cybersecurity. So that's a combination of both firewalls and SBCs. I would say, our big security methodology is really trusted communication versus untrusted. So anything within our infrastructure, our core infrastructure. So that includes, although we're not using it anymore in Colorado, our LNG, but any of the core sites, any of the i3 feature functionalities, the ECRF, the ESRP, anything internal to our core network is all on our trusted side. Anything external, that would include anything OSPs coming in. So any of the OSPs using the Lumen aggregation site and being converted to IP if they're not coming in directly to Lumen IP, and any PSAPs are treated as untrusted. So we have, our private MPLS network that's set up between the core elements and each individual PSAP. So that is secure through Lumen's standard MPLS infrastructure. In addition to that, we utilize 256 AES encryption from our again, our core sites located in Longmont, Miami, to each individual PSAP router. Each router in itself has high physical security on it, so we have strong passwords on those. We also lock down any additional ports that may be available, so it can accept traffic there. And we have access control lists on each of our routers located at the PSAP as well. So it's a very closed out infrastructure. We treat anything coming in from the outside as untrusted. We use our secure MPLS infrastructure as well as encryption on top of that, and our intrusion detection systems within our firewalls and SBCs.
Thanks, Rich. Kathy was dealing with a bunch of phone challenges within her PSAPs. Does anybody have any questions related to cybersecurity for Rich? Okay. One other question that was brought by Kathy was, what type of training does Intrado have ready for NG911 features, such as their multimedia platform? Tracy provided an answer back on the ESInet currently does not support multimedia. However, I'll kind of ask back to Lumen folks, whether it's Tracy or Rich or somebody, is there any training, not necessarily considering the fact that the ESInet doesn't support multimedia, but what does Intrado have for training for the NG911? Is there anything developed yet?
This is Rich Johnson. I have training. So if we want to set up, we can do that. I'd love to do that and set up, I don't know what makes sense for Colorado, maybe quarterly. And we could just set up a, quarterly recurring call, and those PSAPs that want to join can join. I've done lots of training on the ESInet and NG911 and A911, so I'm happy to do that and kind of go through, the existing feature functionalities, what's available, like the CMP. So I'm happy to do that, and I think we should get something set up, and then PSAPs can join whenever they feel necessary. We'll just have kind of a standing, recurring quarterly training, and we'll just do it that way if that makes sense to everybody.
Yeah, Jennifer, would that be a good lunch and learn topic to then pre-schedule for maybe 26?
Yeah, we can do that. I can get with Rich and set up those sessions, and we can build the lunch and learn schedule for 2026 around those.
Sounds like a plan. Rich, thanks for the information. Anybody have any questions on cybersecurity training, text translation for Rich based on Kathy's request?
I will say, sorry to, hopefully I gave enough time for people to respond, but I will say there are multiple multimedia capabilities based on call handling. So I know, again, Viper has like we were talking about before, text translation. They have video that they can interact with callers with. They can share photos and video through the text solution and through something that we call EDB and our spatial insight. And I'm saying a lot of stuff about Viper because that's kind of what I know about because it's part of Entrado. But I'm sure that Motorola and Carbine, I know Carbine and Motorola have the same types of offers, but those are more from the CPE and typically like an over-the-top solution. We were working with getting at least text on the tariff. My guess it's going to shift till next year, but that the first close to multimedia would be text through the ESInet, which we can do today. It's technically possible, and we do it in other areas across the country. It's just one of those things that need to get put on the tariff. So, but all those other multimedia capabilities right now are typically kind of offered by the CPE provider. I know we have a bunch through Viper, and I know the other CPE providers have a lot of those services as well.
Okay, thanks, Rich. Appreciate it.
Sure.
All right. Anything else for Rich or Lumen? Move on to number 7. All right. So number 7 on the agenda is set the panel date for bringing NASNA representatives to the table to discuss some other models across the country of how BESPs work in other states. The core group, or what I believe is being called the usual suspects group, met this morning, and we're working on some documentation that's going to go out to the other folks that may have been part of the bigger group discussion on long-term NG911 or long-term 911 planning or future planning. Our intent is to have a panel discussion with groups of people from across the country to discuss what their models are in other states. So we get educated. This is about education and information. So I was thinking we need to give them some time. But I was thinking January, we're getting super close to the holidays. It's probably too close to schedule anything with vacations, but I was looking at like the week of the 12th of January or the week of the 19th of January. I'm just throwing those weeks out there for this informative panel discussion for PSAPs and authorities only. Does anybody have preferences, thinking conferences or conflicts that tend to impact this whole group that might be happening those weeks? Yeah, Jennifer.
Yeah, just for awareness, the January ESInet users group meeting is on the 14th. So if we wanted to piggyback that and have it after the ESInet users group meeting, that's an option. And then I'm just looking up to see when Nina's SVP is. But I think it's the week before. So let me just look.
Okay.
Because I know a lot of people, yeah, that's going to be that's that week. January 11th through 14th is the standards and best practices. And then the GIS critical issues forum is the 15th and 16th. So I guess it's a good question. Will we have enough participation for the ESInet users group on the 14th, or do we need to look at moving that to the following week too?
It's a good question. By show of hands or waves, does anyone have conflicts? Anybody on this group that's planning on the 14th to not be available for this meeting or potentially a panel? Okay, so we've got some, and this would be non-vendors. This is PSAP folks only. Okay, so let's look at another week.
The week of the 19th is totally open. Probably that Monday is not a good choice because of the Martin Luther King holiday.
Yeah.
But every other day is open on my calendar.
Cindy, you got your hand up. Do you have a question, or are you just voting? Okay, sounds good. Thanks. The 20th or 20, I'll start with the 20th. Does anybody have conflicts that would prevent them from attending a panel discussion for authorities and PSAPs only on the 20th? Raise hand if there's conflict there. Tuesday the 20th. All right, looks like Tuesday the 20th. Anybody want to speak up about anything that's on calendars or scheduled? Does anybody know, I was quick looking up, Denise Amber Lee typically does a conference around this time. I was trying to grab that, so see if anybody was going to that.
Looks like that one is January 25th through the 28th, so.
Okay, so that wouldn't conflict. Cool, thanks, Jennifer. All right, 20th, it seemed like that seems like a good date. Maybe the morning, 9 a.m. Raise a hands if you have a conflict at 9 a.m. Jody, all right.
Yeah, and
Early,
I just have a conflict until 10 and then I'm available.
okay, 10 o'clock on the 20th. Anybody have a conflict? It's probably a couple hours, 10 to noon is likely. It could be a little bit longer than that into the lunch hour. Depends on how many people are on this panel. All right, let's set the 20th, Jennifer, at 10 o'clock. We'll block out 10 to noon with the potential of going over. Again, this is for PSEPs and authorities only. To gather information from other states on how they handle 911 as an informational session.
Got it. And do you want to keep the ESInet users group meeting the week before? And we'll just take it for what we've got, or do you want to reset that for the Wednesday that week, which would be the 22nd?
21st.
21st, sorry.
I have a conflict on the 21st. I could do the afternoon, but I wouldn't be able to do the morning. But Kathy could potentially run it too as the vice chair. Does anybody have any issue with moving it to the afternoon of Wednesday, the 21st? Like at 2 p.m. for the one-off for the ESInet user group. Raise your hand if you have a conflict on the 21st, 2 p.m. for ESInet user group. All right, that looks like that works for everybody. Thank you for being flexible. So Jennifer, let's move the January to the 21st, 2 p.m.
Got it.
All right. Any other questions on scheduling for either of those? All right, great. Public comment, non-voting members. Thoughts, questions, comments? All right, great. I think I might be giving you guys a little time back. We got through that in a good amount of time. Anything else for the good of the order? Well, great. If I don't see or talk to any of you, have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next month.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Care, everyone.